lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven, it found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to True Crime Unraveled. Man, oh man. What's done in the darkness is finally coming to light. For the last 2.5 years, we've been lied to, we've been tricked, we've been told in that probable crap affidavit that Dylan was someplace she wasn't. And now it's coming to light that right after the suspect left, she called Bethany on the phone and asked her if she could come downstairs and go to bed with her. Basically, go to sleep. When I heard that, my God, guys, that was bittersweet. Because we've heard for the last 2.5 years that this woman was so terrified after seeing this person in the house that she was in quote unquote frozen shock phase. Now we know that was a lie. She was not in frozen shock phase. She was drunk, didn't know whether it was real or a dream, but yet she had the presence of mind to call Bethany on the phone and ask her if she could come downstairs and go to sleep with her. I've been saying this before and I'll say it again. You needed to take her section of that PCA, crumble it all up, and throw it away. Because we now know that she was not, she did not lock her door and go to sleep in that room. She slept downstairs on the first floor, and seems kind of weird. I'm not blaming Bethany. I'm not blaming Dylan. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems kind of weird to me that after she saw this person, she doesn't want to sleep upstairs anymore. That, don't get me wrong. I mean, she said she was drunk, didn't know what was going on. She could not pick Brian out of a photo lineup. So exactly what's really going on in this case? Corruption, lying, and all by law enforcement and the state. And not Bethany, and Dylan. Because if you were truly in frozen shock phase, would you have the wherewithal to pick up your phone and instead of calling 911, you call your downstairs roommate and ask her if you could go to sleep in her room? Does anybody find that really suspicious? I do. I'll say it again. I'm not blaming Dylan, but this makes you freaking wonder, what else are we being lied to about? What else? For the past 2.5 years, we've been spoon fed this narrative. And now it's being undone. Because even Judge Hippler is tired of all the sealing of the documents, to the point where he has ordered that from the here on out, the documents will not be sealed. They could be redacted. Yeah, they could be redacted, but no longer sealed. And I blame Judge John Judge for allowing the prosecution to do all this for the last 2.5 years. I mean, even Judge Hippler stated himself, all the documents are already out in the public universe. Why are you being so pervasive and sealing these documents when they're already out on the public domain? The public's already saw most of these relevant documents. Yes, he's a pro prosecution and pro law enforcement judge, but at least he knows there is such thing as transparency. It may be forced transparency upon his part to the prosecution, but at least it's a little bit of transparency. So we all know exactly what's going on in this case without stumbling through the dark and guessing here and guessing there. Now we can actually see what's going on. And what's going on? Dylan is definitely not a credible witness. And I liked my brother AR's terminology about Ann Taylor earlier on our live. She's a pick apart attorney. She picks stuff apart, just like she did with Brett Payne on the stand, just like she did with Ryland Nowlin, where Ryland Nowlin actually threw Brett Payne under the bus, made him look like a complete moron when he stated that they couldn't upload the other two unknown male DNAs, A and D, because they didn't want to destroy the touch DNA on the knife sheath. And Miss Nowlin said they could have uploaded more than one and still have the DNA from the knife sheath intact. And Miss Nowlin also stated later on in that hearing that, as far as she knew, they tested the top of the button snap, but she did not recall if they tested the inside and the grooves inside the button snap. She would have to go back and take a look at the notes of the person that tested them. But she said she did not recall. And I'm tired of hearing, oh, I don't know, or I don't remember, I don't recall. But here's the weird part. I mean, Dylan could very well be an artist. I mean, she could like to draw. But why are you going to draw nothing but single eyes with eyebrows from thin to bushy over him and post them on your wall and post them on corkboard in your room? Talk about inside looking. Maybe she had a fetish for eyes, or maybe she just liked to draw eyes. But still, that's very creepy to be sleeping in a room with all these drawn out eyes looking at you. So did she really see what she said she saw that night? How are you going to be credible if you're in the middle of this gruesome quadruple homicide, and you state frozen shock phase, and from here on out, frozen shock phase when it comes to Dylan Mortensen is no longer a word, no longer a thing. But how, in my opinion, guys, in my opinion, how are you going to say you were in frozen shock phase, but still had the wherewithal to pick up your cell phone? I'm going to say it again, to pick up your cell phone. Instead of calling 911, you call your downstairs roommate and ask if you can come sleep in their bed. So that means she would have had to stumble out of her room, stumble through this bloody mess of a crime scene, and stumble downstairs into Bethany's room. But yet it states in the probable crap affidavit that she had locked her door and went back to sleep. So how is her sleeping downstairs in Bethany's room locking her door after she saw, quote unquote, the killer say nothing and walk by her out the back sliding glass door? She was in frozen shock phase, and she locked her door and went back to bed. Yes, she went back to bed. I will give her that. She went back to bed. But it wasn't in her own room. It was in Bethany's room. This case just keeps more and more stuff keeps getting brought to light. And now, since the prosecution can't seal everything now, even more stuff is going to get brought to light. Damning stuff against the prosecution, not against Brian, but against the prosecution on how they bumbled and fumbled this way through this investigation. And I will tell you guys, this was not an investigation. And the picture of the car that they say is Brian's, that's not an Elantra. It's not. I took a screenshot of that car that's in the picture that they say is Brian's. Send it to my brother and my brother Corey, who is well versed on vehicles. It took him less than 5 minutes to get back in touch with me and say, are they trying to say this is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra? I'm like, yes. The state of Idaho is trying to say that this car is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra. And he goes, they're dead wrong. And I'm like, how are they dead wrong? He goes, that car is either a 2012 or a 2014 Hyundai Sonata. And I'm like, how can you tell? He said the body styling, the fact that it wasn't a 4-door car, it was a 2-door car, and the sunroof. And yes, the car did have a sunroof. Because he zoomed that picture in and looked at every detail on that car. And he said that's not a 2015 Hyundai Elantra. It's either a 2012 or 2014 Hyundai Sonata, 2-door with a sunroof. I can now see why Ann Taylor's trying to get that picture suppressed or thrown out, because it's not Brian's car. It's a completely different car. Will Bethany testify at the trial? I mean, she was there, so she should. Dylan will more likely testify, but she pretty much has discredited herself with all of her statements after the homicides. She was drunk, didn't know if it was really a dream, didn't really know what was going on. But there's going to be a question come up by Ann Taylor during this trial. Exactly, where were you sleeping at that night, Miss Mortensen? Were you sleeping in your room after you saw the suspect, or were you sleeping downstairs with Bethany Funk? She's gonna have to look at Ann Taylor and say that until after she saw the killer, she went downstairs. Ann Taylor is going to pick her apart in a very professional manner, to where the state cannot object, cannot stand up and say, I object to this line of questioning. She will pick Dylan apart in a manner that's professional, and I will get answers, or she will let Dylan dig her own grave on the stand. And one more thing before I wrap this video up. The dollhouse, or their version of the 3D rendering of the house, which looks like a dollhouse. I'm pretty sure, guys, the jury will ignore that dollhouse. They will ignore it. And I'm pretty sure, more than likely, in my honest opinion, they will look at Dylan on the stand, and in the back of their minds, the jurors will think, why didn't you help these roommates? What were you doing that night? Why didn't you help them? Why didn't you call 911? Why did you call the downstairs roommate and ask if you could come sleep in her room? Even the jury will wonder if Dylan's actually credible, because she's got a lot of explaining to do. Just like Ricky Ricardo, she got a lot of explaining to do. Yeah, she does. She's got a lot of explaining to do, exactly what her role in all this was. Why she didn't call 911. Why instead of calling 911, she called the downstairs roommate, and why she slept down there. Yeah, this is going to be a very fun exchange between Ann Taylor and Dylan Mortensen on the stand. If you like this video, guys, please leave it a like. While you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for all my new content coming out. Why don't you leave a comment down in the comment section on what you guys think of the whole Dylan Mortensen thing going on right now. You guys have a good Thursday. This is True Crime Unraveled. I'm out, guys. Peace.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun.